So I have a video series going out, which I'm adding 2 more videos, which would be remiss not to do that. And video 6 is actually based on the idea of there's other things that get in the way of working on your couple relationship, which we need to address. And so in video 6, what we're addressing is some aspects of mental health, which might be depression and anxiety and ADD and other aspects of mental health that might get in the way of having complete autonomy over just having impact on your couple relationship as if these things didn't exist. So I wanted to break them down and to talk about some ways of just really addressing some of the things that are aspects of the relationship that you have to consider in order to work on the relationship, right? You cannot ignore these aspects. So when it comes to anxiety, for example, one person might be constantly worrying and controlling different scenarios in the relationship so they don't have to um, continue to feel like they're in free fall. And so there might be this overfunctioning, underfunctioning dynamic in the relationship. And this is really just important to name and slow down. So if the anxiety is really high and let's say person A is the one with the anxiety and person B is the recipient that's like, okay, this is like constantly go, 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 figuring out, I have to just like kind of run after this person. It's important to name and slow down and to talk about the anxiety as an aspect of the relationship. How can I calm you down? How can I reassure you? How can I support you? But it also might be important for the other person to talk about, hey, this is a day that I really need not to be assisting you all day because you're nervous about the dinner that we're having tonight with your family. So I can do a number of things to help you, but then I'm going to have to take care of myself. So it could be boundary setting around the anxiety and to actually encourage the other partner to do the same, to really boundary set around their own anxiety. Like, here it comes. Let's see the pattern. Let's see how it shows up. Half an hour before guests show up, you're really, really running around and feeling really nervous that we didn't do enough. So let's try to prevent some of those high anxiety moments in events that cause you anxiety. And this might just be a back and forth. And to get better at communicating about when anxiety comes up, when overfunctioning comes up, when there's this projection of underfunctioning of the other person, or when the underfunctioning comes from the other person being like, I give up. I can't keep up with you. So, and I can't be put in the position that I'm not doing enough for you. So I have to be clearer. So this is sort of a back and forth of talking about some of the common human elements that we have, which is high emotions, high worry. This exists in all of us humans. So to identify the patterns of anxiety in your relationship, what they're about, what the themes are, what the patterns, what each of you ends up doing when they show up is critical. So depression. So depression on both sides of the relationship, the person with the depression, the person without the depression, there needs to be more communication about when the depression is there. Is the depression always that person's personality or it's a part of their personality? So there needs to be strategies around the depression. Let's say someone's like really depressed and in a depressive episode where let's say they're not getting out of bed at all, that puts a lot of strain on a relationship and on the other person. And sometimes the other person can feel like they take it personally, that it's almost like manipulative, that that person gets depressed and the other person has to overfunction, or they get depressed because of them addressing, hey, I think your depression is coming up. So one of the elements about working with depression is to get outside professional help. So you know exactly what the pattern of the depression is for the person, what they need when they are depressed, what helps, and what's the extent of their depression. So you as the other person, I don't want to say plan around it, but you can plan with it so that you both are finding small ways to continue to connect in a relationship, in the relationship, so that you feel like the relationship gets to exist, even if the depression shows up. And it might just be trying to figure out how that one person gets help for the depression, but there's a translation about what they're learning around their depression, either from them and the professional they're working with, or them just constantly like in conversation about this is my depression, this isn't me being mad at you, or this is something that I am working on a different medication or a different strategy or a different self-care process to get through my bigger bouts of depression. And so the other person can actually start planning how to take care of themselves during those times. And there may need to be more of a couple therapy component when the depression is really at a high level, and almost preventatively. So there is a plan of how to handle these kinds of times. When it's a dysthymia, which is just like a low grade depression, I think some of it is working with each other about what helps change this or shift this. Is it a walk? Is it just taking time for yourself during a period of time where you can reflect and journal and see your friends or do those activities that help you feel much more mentally healthy? You know, the biggest thing around low grades of depression is the routine in which you live, having healthy habits, not drinking a lot, not um, uh, really attuning to your basic self-regulation and your basic self-care routine, so that you can actually feed this other part of your brain to be more energized and active and communicative about what you're going through. There may be patterns of depression that show up around the menstrual cycle that need to be looked at. Like there's periods of time of PMS and those kinds of things that are also patterns of emotional highs and lows that need to be understood in the relationship, how they affect it, how the other partner can help, how the other partner might have a way of separating from those times so that the other person can take care of themselves in the way that they need to, sort of outside the relationship. So things to consider around depression and emotional highs and lows. So ADD. So typically I see that ADD couples have this underfunctioning, overfunctioning component to their relationship. And usually the ADD personality overfunctions with the things that they're really, really interested in. And it's actually really refreshing to see someone completely involved in some kind of creative feat or some kind of academic endeavor. And that can be incredibly exciting, but it also can put a lot of pressure on the other person. And so there needs to be a lot of communication rather than staying stuck in these roles of somebody is just failing the job of being a person that is a good partner in terms of balancing the household, doing tasks in the household, following through, remembering, dealing with all the things in life, and that doesn't get put onto the other partner who's the non-ADD person. So it is a working together to create systems that are going to help the ADD personality work better in collaboration and break down that overfunctioning, underfunctioning dynamic, which requires outside help. So this is another area that requires outside help. Not just working on the couple relationship is going to solve this problem. It is a dynamical thing. And if you don't really look at it and create strategies for it, it doesn't get better. So ADD and the non-ADD partnership can create a lot of tension and stress and that kind of dynamic. So it's something to really break down and look at and be realistic about how you can move forward to try to have, again, similar ways of connecting with each other that develop the couple relationship and also deal with the stressors that are caused from the ADD partnership. So it's so much healthier to name the other component, the other element in a relationship than to ignore it. And it might be one of those things that as you're doing your couple work, you start really understanding better the two personalities coming together and what each personality might be struggling with. Sometimes it's just stress. Sometimes it's money problems. Sometimes there's intimacy problems that are based on physical problems. And when you're working on your couple relationship, I really would advise to roll up your sleeves and really identify, get to know every part of your couple relationship and every part of yourself that is trying to engage and work on getting closer with the other person. What's stopping you? What are the things in the way from having balance in life? Sometimes it's taking care of an elderly parent. puts a lot of pressure on a family and on a relationship, or a child who is struggling, or children in general. So really, when you're doing your couple work, I really want you to demystify the challenges that you're having, to create strategies for all of them, and to really understand each of your own personal difficulties in the world and talk about them with each other. This can be a very, very healing relationship where you can do a full healing if you can do a full sharing. So I would really encourage you to do a full sharing, do a full investigation of yourself, and see the parts of your dynamic that is created by things that are out of your control or feel out of your control that really need to be looked at in a different way, so that you're not feeling like you're failing your couple relationship, but you're actually investigating and understanding other dynamics in your relationship that help you do some detective work, like, okay, so that's why we always have this struggle, right? That's why there's always so many things that are left undone, right? The ADD element is coming up. Now I see that. Okay, let's work with that together. Or yes, my depression, my low grade depression makes it really hard for me to talk to you sometimes because I'm not in a place where I feel like I want to share the thoughts that I'm having. Or my anxiety is so high today that it's going to feel like I'm biting your head off and bossing you around because I'm so anxious. Okay, well, let's take some time to figure out how we're going to manage your anxiety today, how I can be there around your anxiety, and when we might need to set some boundaries with each other so that we don't get in a fight about it. So, things to consider. It's not all just working on the relationship. It's really understanding each other's biochemistry, mental health, ways of having self-regulation, and trying to build a really good life together.